A long time ago, in a faraway land, there were two young girls who lived in the village with their loving family, Ruella and Anastasia. They were best friends since childhood. Despite of their personality differences, they got along so well together. Ruella is adventurous, while Anastasia is an introvert. Good morning, Anastasia. Ruella greeted Anastasia, who's currently washing the clothes in front her house. Hi, Ruella. What brings you here early in the morning? Asked Anastasia while smiling. I'm here to tell you the good news. There will be a disco down in the village. There will be a celebration and the village officials throw a disco for villagers. Ruella said, full of excitement. So? Anastasia said, even though she knew already what her friend wanted to tell. I'm here to ask you to come with me later, of course. Ruella said excitedly. Wonderful, Ruella. You know already my mama will not allow me to go such an event, said Anastasia while finishing her laundry. No worries, my dear friend. I will handle it. I will ask permission to your mother, and I will assure her that I will take good care of you, said Ruella. Anastasia continued her chores, while Ruella went inside the house of her friend and talked to Anastasia's mother. Gladly, Ruella told Anastasia that she was already permitted to go with her to a disco later down the village. Anastasia, be careful, okay? Don't be so late, said Teresa to her only child. Even though Anastasia was already 19 years old, her mother and father treated her like a baby. I will, Mama. Don't worry about me, okay? I can handle myself. Besides, Ruella is with me, and I'm sure also our other neighbor will attend the event, assured Anastasia to her mother. Anastasia and Ruella were preparing themselves at Anastasia's house, and they are ready to go. It's past 4 in the afternoon when they start walking down the village, but before reaching the venue, they need to pass the abandoned funeral home. Ruella started to talk about the history of that place when they passed the abandoned place. Ruella, stop believing those things. It's just a myth, said Anastasia. It is true, Anastasia. That place is really haunted, and one of our neighbors saw a floating coffin on the road when he reaches the abandoned funeral home area, said Ruella. And he is drunk. My mama said it's only his imagination caused by his drinking of alcohol, Anastasia said. Okay, but what about my father? And everybody knows that story when he is still young and that place is still open. Lots of dead were not claimed. That's why the funeral home went bankrupt. And they saw those dead roaming around in that area at night during full moon, Ruella added. Whatever, Ruella. We are going to the disco and you are talking scary things. You are destroying the good vibes, Anastasia complained to her friend. Okay. Oh look, we are almost there, my friend, Ruella said excitingly and pointed to the open area covered with different dancing colors. It was already 5 in the afternoon when they reached the venue, and the lights were already on. Ruella and Anastasia enjoying the night. Anastasia keeps on looking at her wristwatch. She promised her mother she wouldn't be late. The disco started at 6 p.m. and they needed to go home before 9 p.m. As expected, some of the boys and girls in their neighborhood joined also the event, but as time passed by, they started going home without Ruella's knowledge. Anastasia, stop looking at your watch. Enjoy the night. This event happens once a year only, so we must enjoy it, said Ruella with a wide smile on her face. Ruella, I felt tired already. It's been hours since we are dancing. Besides, it's already 8:30 in the evening, Anastasia said with a loud voice for Ruella to hear her. It's okay, Anastasia. Some of our neighbors are also here. We will go home all together, said Ruella. Friend, they are already gone, said Anastasia, which made Ruella stop from dancing. Really? Asked Ruella. Anastasia nodded. They've decided to go home already because they don't have companions to go home to, and it's too dangerous if too late at night. They will leave the disco. Everyone in the village knows the story of the abandoned funeral home, and it's the reason why people are scared to walk by during late nights alone in that area. Friend, it's okay. It is not true about the story of that abandoned funeral home, Anastasia uttered when she noticed the worried face of her friend. They were near the place. It's already 9 p.m. and when they almost passed the abandoned funeral home, Ruella tightened her hold onto her best friend's arm. Anastasia, my hair on the back of my neck is standing and a cold wind blows behind my back, said Ruella while hugging her friend's arm. Suddenly, Anastasia stops walking. What happened, Anastasia? Asked Ruella while looking at her friend's face full of horror. She's pointing in front. Ruella slowly turns her head where Anastasia is pointing. She saw the floating coffin in the middle of the road. To her horror, she lost all her strength to move nor shout. Yet the coffin moves slowly to their direction, and when Ruella gathered all her strength, she managed to grab Anastasia's hands when she realized Anastasia was not moving because of the horror they witnessed. They both ran too fast away from that place to their home. When they reached home immediately, they told their parents about what they saw. This time, Anastasia believed the story about the abandoned funeral home that circulated for decades in their village. Her father told her to not roam around during nighttime alone. Anastasia assured her father and mother she would not go outside during nighttime. The moment Ruella's parents knew what happened, her father said never go walk on that street late at night. Ruella nodded, but her two big brothers were laughing only. Look at you. I thought you were not scared of ghosts. Or why are you paling and almost crying like a baby? Said Louis to Ruella. Look who's talking. Maybe both of you will pee on your pants when you saw the floating coffin, said Ruella while rolling her eyes to her brothers. Oops, not me. Maybe Robbie, but not me. Laughing Louis. Are you mad? You are the one who peed on your pants in grade school, said Ruby, who laughed out loud. Enough of those boys. You see already your sister is scared and you still have the guts to have fun. Stop it, and let's have dinner, said their father Lito. But before the night ended, Louis talked to his siblings about his plan. He wanted to witness the haunting of that place to confirm if it's really true. Robbie excitedly agreed while Ruella is uncertain, but later on, she accepted the challenge. What? Are you guys crazy? Anastasia exclaimed as if she couldn't believe what she heard. No, we are not, Anastasia, but we are just curious if the two of you are telling the truth, Louis explained. We are telling the truth, and it's not our problem anymore if you have doubts about us. And besides, no one is allowed to enter that abandoned funeral home, said Anastasia, who is still surprised by her friend's ideas. Okay, it's up to you, but I and Ruby will still do the plan tonight. And I guess Ruella will come along too, Louis said while looking at Ruella. Anastasia, I need to go with them. I am scared of what happened last night. But my inner self wanted to look at what's inside of that abandoned funeral home. And I really wanted to prove to my brothers that we are not making up things, said Ruella. Anastasia was convinced by her best friend to come along with them. They planned to go to that place at 8 in the evening right after their dinner. Anastasia told her parents she would visit Ruella for just 2 hours. Her parents let her go. It is not a new thing between Ruella and Anastasia. They loved hanging out either in Ruella's home or vice versa. The 4 of them started walking on the highway with torches, each of them. The night was covered with full moonlight and cold wind. When they are in front of the abandoned funeral home, Louis, Ruby, and Ruella went through the tall grass to reach the main door of the house, while Anastasia left outside beside the highway for a lookout. Louis opened the door and he entered, followed by his siblings, when suddenly the door closed, which made them startled and caused Ruella to shout. She tried to open the door, but it seemed like someone locked it from the outside. "Louis! Louis!" shouted Ruby while he kept on pointing in front of them. Louis turned around and saw the coffin floating slowly in the air. The 3 of them was trembling, can't even move. They tried to shout, but it was as if their tongue was hiding. The coffin started to open slowly, and the dead inside the coffin wake up. Ruella, Louis, and Ruby were shouting abruptly and crying. They were banging on the door asking for help. "Help! Help! Anastasia, open the door!" Anastasia heard the shout coming from the abandoned place. She ran directly through the grass and started turning the doorknob, but it was not working. She tries to throw herself at the door but still can't open. From the inside, she could clearly hear their horrible noise and the shout of her friends. As she turns the knob back and forth, she heard a creepy sound coming above her, and when she looked up, she saw a white lady floating near the window. Anastasia wasted no time. Direct she ran away back home. She went direct to Ruella's parents to tell them what's happening to their kids and they need help right away. Leto and Lucy went straight to the abandoned funeral home while Anastasia brought along her parents to help her friends. Ruella, Louis, and Ruby, still crying, whimpering because of the coffin, was floating in front of them and the dead slowly turning the head on their direction. Face almost decayed and eyes widely open, full of blood. The siblings were so frightened when suddenly the main door was open and they saw their worried parents outside together with Anastasia and her parents. Ruella was crying while hugging her mother, and her 2 brothers were hiding behind Leto. In chorus, they told their parents of what they saw inside the house. The kids stayed with Teresa and Lucy while Leto and Manuel went inside the funeral home to confirm what they heard from the kids. But they saw nothing except the abandoned coffins. The couples brought their frightened children back home. Leto and Lucy calmed their children when they reached home as long as with Anastasia's parents. They explained to their children that what they did was never right and risky. "First of all, I am not happy about what you did, Louis. You brought your siblings to danger," said Leto. Without asking our permission, the three of you left the house. If it was not Anastasia, we won't be able to know where you are and what's happening to all of you," added Lucy. The three of them lowered their heads. "I'm so sorry, Papa and Mama. It won't happen again," said Louis. "Ma, Pa, we learned our lesson already to follow always the parents and never break the rules," Robbie said. "Even though we know already it's prohibited to enter the house, yet we still went there, and for that, we apologize and won't do it again," Rowella explained. "I'm glad all of you admitted your mistake, and I'm hoping it won't happen again," said Lito. In Anastasia's home, her father confronted her for not telling them about their plan to go in the abandoned funeral home. Anastasia promised her parents to never lie and hide anything from now on. Rowella's parents decided to talk to their village officials about putting gates on the surroundings of that premises to prevent from intruders, but the officials said there was no need because it's been scheduled to be demolished on the next week. "That's good news, Anastasia," said Rowella when they overheard them talking. "Exactly, Rowella. It will help us, especially you and your brothers, to overcome from the trauma it caused when it's totally vanished," Anastasia uttered while genuinely smiling at her best friend. "I hope so, Anastasia," said Rowella, who smiled back at her friend. From that moment, Rowella was never that adventurous anymore, and because of that experience, her brother Louis and Robbie changed a lot, from bullies to good sons and a better brother to Rowella. That's the end of our story. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next Grandpa's Horror Story.